Welcome everyone to another episode of Vibing with Grayy. I'm so honored that you're here right now and watching. Remember, my show is all about transforming and inspiring young lives out there. So on today's topic, it's quite a very interesting one and juicy one. It's all about self-search. Do you ever ask yourself, who am I? Or anyone else, or even your friend, an interviewer, asks you the question, who am I? And what do you answer? You should not look at your accolades or your body or how people perceive you. You should just think of your values, your God-given values, your values that you have acquired from the environment. That is who you are. And on that note, I'm so honored to introduce our guest for today, Miss Branice Mayenga. She's a born leader, a resilient, powerful woman who is really, really successful in her work and her mental studies. She's a brilliant person, and I know that you'll learn from this episode because I've told you that this is a learning session. This is not a monologue, it's a dialogue between two people who are out there trying to inspire the lives of the youth out there. So, how are you, Branice?
Fine, thank you. I mean, it's really nice. This is a conversation that I'm really excited about.
Yes, I'm so honored that you're in my podcast because I usually like to interact with powerful women because I aspire to be one. Actually, I am one. It's just that I see you as an idol because what you portray and how you're building your life, it's so inspirational and many people can learn from you. And I'm giving you this platform to share with us your journey and how you got to understand yourself mentally and how the mental results proceeded to give you good results. Okay, so I'm going to start by asking you to give us a background of your life when you decided to become the person you are, because Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yes.
You can be a powerful woman, but you still have a story. Everyone has a story.
Absolutely.
So I need you to tell us the backstory of who Miss Branice Mayenga was back then and how you decided to shift your paradigm and just search for the life that you want.
Okay. So thanks so much. Yeah. I really believe in stories, the power of stories, and most especially the power of the journey. The journey is what many people don't get exposed to, but the journey is actually what builds us and what molds us. Growing up, I was the fun of the party. I grew up in a family of 6 children. I was the 5th child, but I was the child that was beaten the most. You know, it's almost because I was so outgoing. I mean, I thought that I just needed to just forge my own path. I was very clear about what it is I wanted to do. The minute I believed in something, I went ahead for it. And I think it was a very trying time for me because I have a twin sister. And you know, when you have twins, people are always comparing. Yeah. And sometimes even when they meet twins, they ask, Ule mangani nani?
Yeah? Oh yeah, so you are identical?
No, we're fraternal. Yeah. But I think I also wanted to get away from that cocoon of we're 2 people being perceived as one person. And this was even happening with my own parents. You know, they thought we had to go to the same primary school, we had to go to the same secondary school. I wasn't an A student, but I was the arts and the creatives. That was who I was. Yeah. So maybe I'll call myself a free spirit. When we cleared high school, when we cleared primary, we went to high school. Obviously, my twin and I didn't get the same marks, but my parents made sure these people are going to go to the same school. So I ended up in Moi Forces Academy in Nakuru. That already for me was a struggle. First, because I was being removed from an environment that I was used to and being taken to a caged environment. And this was a military school. So discipline, you know, towing the line, carrying yourself a certain way, that for me was already, I was feeling like I was being boxed. So naturally, my reflex was to react to it, to respond to it, to rebel against it. And so what I did is I planned with 2 of my friends and we went to the orchard. We had an orchard and then obviously there was a fence. We cut the fence and I told them, you guys, adios. Me, I'm leaving. As in this life, I can't. And so we organized and we were 3 of us and we called it Escape from Sobibo. And so we left. There's nothing wrong with that school. It was a beautiful school. It was a national school. It did well. I think for me, I just never got used to norms. And I realized as time went on in my life that anytime I felt I was in a place where it was routine, I jumped out. So for me, I'm not a routine person. In as much as people might think routine sometimes keeps you grounded and makes you productive, for me, that's not how I look at my life. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, my rebellion or my self-realization started in high school, end of Form 1, beginning of Form 2. And I think now that's just what sets the stage to impact everybody around me, from my family, from my parents, from my siblings, from my uncles, because now they were starting to see a totally different child in a family of 6 who was supposed to have been raised in a certain way. So I guess that is where it started for me.
Well, I see the urge to stand out because you said that you have a twin and you're always constantly being compared with her, or they think that you are somehow similar. Yes. But as for you, you wanted to stand out. And that's brilliant. And what are some of the obstructions you faced during your journey? I mean, you getting out of school, that's quite a courageous thing to do. Because personally, I usually always afraid to take risks out of something. But as for you, you knew that this isn't for me. I'm not built for routine. I just want to stand on my own and do my things differently.
Yeah.
But I do understand that on the journey, you do face limitations and obstructions. There's some things that come to you as limiting beliefs.
Yes.
So how did you navigate through them? Because I know they existed during your journey.
Yeah. Okay, the first thing that I want to say is, if you're trying to prove a point to people, you'll always fail. And I want to repeat that again. If you're trying to prove a point to people, you'll always fail. Because the minute you achieve what they put for you as the standard, the minute you hit that, they take it a bit higher. So you're always trying to find yourself according to their perceptions or their standards, or how they think you need to be here for you to be successful. That for me was also another realization. First, when I was growing up, I was a very small-bodied child. You know, there's something about being small, being dark-skinned, that made me feel like I wasn't good enough. So I really needed to find other things that would bring out certain strengths about me so that they overlook these struggles that I had. So in as much as, yes, I didn't feel ugly, but I just felt maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not at the place where, for me to really be seen as that girl, I need to have certain things. We were literally just small, straight girls, yeah? So the first thing that I did was, if I'm going to prove a point, I'm going to prove it to myself. And I have to have so much conviction about it that I'm not turning back. If I leave high school and my parents tell me you're going back, I put my foot down and I say, let's have a conversation so that you understand why I left. Yeah? There has to be something that precipitated that action. When I sat down with my dad and I told him the reason why I don't want high school is because I miss the two of you. I miss my parents. I mean, it wasn't an answer that he was expecting. It was almost like, go, you'll be gone for 3 months and then you'll come back and you're here for 1 month. And I felt that, like, my dad and my mom had built such a strong relationship amongst us. We were so close that the minute they pulled me away from that, I felt like, okay, fine. It's almost like I've been left on my own. So that was one of the reasons why I left high school. The second reason is, remember, I'm a creative. I'm being put in a place where now the expectations, you have to be an A student, you have to do well in maths, you have to do well in the sciences. I'm looking at chemistry, we've been put in a French class. I'm just thinking, this is too much. Can I be put in an art class? And that, I think the basics that they had for art creatives to bring out their passions was music festivals, drama festivals, and maybe recitals. I wanted something that I was going to do on my own, not with a crowd, on my own. So that is how much I believed in the power of me. It had to be me first, because the point I was trying to prove was to myself that I'm good enough despite the limitations, the way I look, the way I feel, the way people perceive me. Yeah. So some of the limitations, obviously, that I faced were, there's always a feeling that you need to compare yourself with someone else. That popular girl, that bright girl. When everyone is being given an award for, English, 90% is so-and-so, maths, 90% is so-and-so, I decided I'm going to focus on history. and I made it my best subject. And I topped history throughout. I knew English, many of us can, get the 90s, but history, and I think that is what now started to build my need and my desire to start telling stories, because history is stories, stories of the past, stories of why people did things a certain way. At that time, it didn't make sense. I probably wasn't even thinking that I'll need this many years later. But as I started to tell stories, I realized that I really enjoyed when people came back from boarding and sat down with us and told us what was happening in boarding. And I used to wonder, boardings must be very scary places, because you hear some of the stories and you're thinking, wow. So anyway, my leaving high school, I stayed at home for 1 year. And in that 1 year, all I did was just dance. I loved dancing. So I would go out to the club. And remember, my parents were teachers. These are people who are thinking, it's education until you get to the highest level of education. And then from there, they probably have a way in which your life is going to pan out. So the fact that I'd already circumvented that, and now this is what I want to do. I remember very clearly my dad having a conversation with me and telling me, Branice, do you. Do what it is you're looking for. Do it until you get to the point where you are so satisfied and content in what it is you want to do. But I'm your father. It's still my responsibility to take you back to school. I told him, fine. So for 1 year, I just used to go out to the club and I used to dance. Then at some point, obviously, you get used to that and now you want to drop that. You're looking for something else. My heart is searching for something. What is it that I want? And I was like, you know what? Now I think it's time for me to go back to school. And so I went back to school. Now, the school that my parents took me to was primarily an Asian school. It was Arya Samaj. So now remember, I'm moving away from a place where I was a black girl struggling amongst other black girls. And now I'm going into a space where the skin color is different. For some reason, I felt so safe in that space. Because I felt like I was the one who was standing out. In a class of Asians, we are some blacks, but I'm feeling like now this is me in my element. And I especially just want to thank my headmistress. Mrs. Sharma just saw something in me. And she told me, Branice, pick those things that you think, activities in the school that you think you can participate in, and just go all out. So I took science congress, I took debate, I took swimming, I took athletics. And when I was on the field doing those things, I was in my element. I built such a confidence in myself that when I finished speaking on stage, whether it was science congress, I left and went back to school. And I used to tell people, the trophy is going to follow me back to school. And for sure today, I brought trophies into that school. I excelled so much in the social space that the school called my parents and told them, you know what, we're going to pay school fees for your daughter for the next 2 years. So from 3 and from 4, my parents never paid school fees. So I started feeling like, for the first time, someone is actually recognizing something about me that is of value. Arya Samaj is what set the pace for me in terms of me finding myself. And from there, I think by the time people were doing their last paper in high school, the last exam, the administrator was giving me some contact and telling me, when you finish school, because I cleared on the 19th of November, when you clear your last paper, I need you to call this number. I have a friend of mine who's looking for a receptionist. And I mean, she knew I was fluent, I was bubbly, I was, a go-getter, I was proactive. So I called this number and they tell me, oh yeah, we're looking for a receptionist and someone recommended you, so please come in for an interview. And I came in, did an interview. The next week, I started working. So people are still waiting for their results. For Form 4, me, I'm already working. Now, obviously, this was different for me. And I still ended up in an environment where there were Asians. Because my first job was at C-Meta. It was a pharmaceutical company. And then there were doctors. Now, what started grounding me around that space is doctors work with routine, time. They're very organized, cutthroat, how they do their work. So for me, it was pick his call, get the information, relay that information to him. When I started dropping the ball, I was like, there's a disconnect. I can't be doing this every day. Picking the call, giving him the call, writing him a note.
Because it's routine.
Yes. So that is where I think I started now again struggling with routines. Because I was like, I'll every day walk into this space. This is my booth as the receptionist. They'll always pass here. I'll always pick calls. So I think I must have been there for 10 months. before now, it started becoming clear to me that this seems to be routine, and you're beginning to struggle with it. And I was very good at my job. So I simply just let them know, I think my time is up. My results are out. I probably need to go back now to school, which I did not. I left Cimeta and obviously went into other working spaces. But the highlight of the working company that I went to work in a company called Group Africa. Group Africa took me all over East Africa. All we did was just travel and market on a truck. You know, these trucks, we set it up in a market and we were doing road shows, and now that was just really my element. So I think the one thing also that I now realize in hindsight when I look back, whatever it is that you constantly tell your subconscious mind puts you in those places. If you're attentive, you always see those things that you're attracted to. But if you're not grounded, if you're not clear about what it is you want, who you are, which is what you're asking, who am I? I'm a go-getter. I'm a free spirit. I'm a people person. I'm a talker. Once you get in touch with that part of you, the intellectual part of you, you put it aside. I don't have the certificates, I don't have the accreditation, I don't have the accolades. Those for me at that point never mattered. They came now to start affecting me many years, like maybe 15 years later in the corporate world. But I think as I progressed from high school, Moi Forces, where I left, to ARIA, to Cimeta, to Group Africa, that was now the highlight of my life. When I then now got into the corporate world, I still went back into that routine. So I think I used to wonder, why do I keep falling back into these routines? But I think it's just the journey of life.
Yes.
You need to just be self-aware of what part of the journey you're at. And sometimes you need to stay in that part. Even if it's a struggle or you feel like it's not working, you need to go through it. Because it always can't just be a flow and, everything is working for you. So yeah, I think that was also now another place where there was self-realization, routine of being a receptionist, jumped out and now went into a place where I'm all over, traveling, meeting different people, talking, listening to people. That is who I am.
I'm really impressed by your persona. Being grounded, a person who is grounded and a person who just believes in themselves. That is something that we lack in our generation because people are constantly comparing themselves to other people. Am I beautiful enough than her? Am I doing better than him? Like it's all chaos. Yeah. It's all chaotic. And being able to stand your ground and say, nah, I'm going to do this regardless of what people are going to say because I understand my journey and I know where I want to go. Actually, I know the best thing is knowing where you want to lead your life to your destination. Yeah. It doesn't matter how you're going to start, but just building that image of the destination that you want to arrive at. True. That's the best thing. And you've talked about the subconscious mind and how it affects our thought process and how it also influences our results in the physical world. Yeah. Please help us understand more about that so that people can see how they relate to their physical results in life. Because once you're having a conversation, you said that the subconscious mind doesn't forget and it doesn't know how to differentiate between a real thing and a fake thing. So absolutely. The thoughts that you put into your subconscious mind always stick. Yes. So please help us understand more about that and how we can change our paradigm or our way of thinking so that we can attract these things that you want in life.
Okay. So the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Whatever you feed it, that is what is gospel truth for it. And I want to maybe just start by asking everyone to do an exercise, maybe when we finish this conversation. Take a paper, draw a box. Write the things about yourself that you know, that you like in that box. And then draw another bigger box and write the things that people tell you about yourself. That bigger box is a representation of who you are. Many times we don't see those things. Like maybe someone comes and tells you, hey, by the way, unakaa poa, there's an automatic reflex response. Hey, kweli. Oh. You don't see it. Or maybe someone tells you, by the way, you're a natural speaker. Do you speak at events? Or I have a friend of mine called Solomon. The first time I met him, his voice. And I remember asking him, where are you using that voice? Are you recording it anywhere? Are you doing adverts? There's certain things that we pick about people that we connect to certain spaces. But for them, they never think that they need to be doing it. So naturally, when you comment or you make a comment about that quality of someone, their natural reflex is to lean back and they're like, oh, really? But they don't act on it. Now, when you say, oh, really? That's what you tell your subconscious mind. So subconscious mind is like, we're not all that. That's not who we are. So you're already the one who's sending that vibe. You're speaking certain things into yourself and the subconscious mind is manifesting. So one thing that I learned about the subconscious mind is the minute you start wearing specs, you see everybody who wears specs. And it's a reflex. If you hurt your leg maybe and you're limping and you're using a walking stick, you'll see men and women who have it. So the one thing that I realized a few years back, I think it must have been in 2019, I was not a lover of cars. I didn't like cars. I mean, it wasn't really a big deal for me. So one time I'm talking to my husband and I mean, for him, he's a German cars kind of person. So I'm talking to him and then he sold his car. So we're out in the car yards and we're looking at different cars. So we see a whole line of cars parked. And then I see a Land Rover Discovery standing on its own. So he's telling me, oh, this is a nice car for a lady, you know, like a Vitz, or those days, Vitz were the in thing. And I'm thinking, this car is so, there's something about me and feeling caged. Those small cars, by the way, no offense, nothing wrong about them. But I would never buy those cars. I feel, and then, I have 5 children. So anytime I'm thinking of a car, I'm thinking them already just being in one room with me is already suffocating. So can I please have a car that, has some space and some character? So as I'm looking at these cars, I noticed the Discovery standing on its own character. Even just the way it's standing on that, like on the lawn. And I'm like, there's really something about this car. But I think for me, all I saw was it stands out. I didn't really go into, what it has, its speed, its engine capacity, nothing. And from the minute I noticed that car, it's almost like I decided this is the car that I love. Not that I want it, not that I own it. This is just the car that I love. That if I were to put a photo of a car, the way you can go maybe and find people on the street selling photos and there's a car of, an old Ford, why do you buy it? Do you just buy it because it's a nice painting? Or do you buy it because there's something about it that connects with your personality and who you are? Do you know, from the time I saw that car, I see it every day. I leave my house, I can be working on something, I look up and I see it. So I started now projecting that with my own life. What are some of the things that I have told myself that make me start to actually live life in that way? Have I told myself that I'm not good enough because maybe I didn't have the certification? And for a long time, it never bothered me until I got into the corporate world. And then I realized people get the jobs based on their certification, or they have a PhD, they have a master's, they have a diploma, they have a degree. But when I looked at their work ethic and I looked at my work ethic, I never felt insecure about their accreditation. Because for me, I knew who I was and what it is I was able to do. I kept working. But somehow society has made it look like if you're not here, then you're not successful. So now that conversation started to bother me. Is this the reason I'm not getting a promotion? Is this the reason I'm not getting a pay increase? But my work and what I'm doing is enough reason for me to go and sit down with my boss and tell them, this is what I've been able to achieve. I think I deserve maybe a pay increase. And it is the one thing that I tell my daughter, and I want to tell even the youth. When you're going through that journey, there's certain things you're amassing or you're building. Please put them down. They are achievements. Achievement is not only a trophy, a certificate. If you came into a place and you didn't know maybe how to use a printer, or you didn't know how to use machines, and you've learned how to do that, it has made you more efficient. Find a way to put the fact that you are efficient in a space where everything is provided for you to make the workplace conducive. Because sometimes you can find you're struggling in a workplace, but the people around you are not creating that environment for you to thrive. So the minute you're able to get a hold of these things to make you more organized, to make you more proactive, to make you more work in a certain way, please see that as an achievement. Because you started and you didn't know it. Now, as you've gone along, you've picked it. I mean, for me, I find it an achievement to be able to wear color. I was never a color person. I mean, I used to stick to the blues and the browns and the grays and the blacks. But with time, you realize that there are certain things that you need to do for yourself to make yourself feel good. And it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to have all the money in the world. You don't have to look at other people and think, maybe if I had this, I'd look as beautiful as them. You're beautiful in your own way. Find those things that you can do, that when you look in the mirror, you can actually remember the person that you saw. You know, there's some people you look in the mirror, this is who you see. Then you leave, and now you're seeing yourself. It's two different people. Find a way to look at yourself and know that that is who I see, and that is who I like. Because it's very important. Self-realization, finding yourself, and the words that you speak to yourself is always the message that you send to your subconscious mind. Subconscious mind does not rebel, it conforms. So if you keep on telling it a certain thing, that's exactly what it picks for you. So start changing. And you know, they say 21 days is enough for you to
form a habit.
Exactly. So do it. You might miss it on day 4. Pick it again on day 5. And say, you know what? I'm a strong person. You know what? I'm a go-getter. You know what? I'm deserving. I deserve this. The more you speak to your subconscious mind telling them, and this is not motivational, it's not listening to motivational speakers and they keep telling you and telling you, no. You can listen to them. The minute you get out, pick that one thing that you want to be known for. Who is Branice? Who is Clara? When I see them, what do I see? I see strength. I see positivity. But then there's some people who, they are so positive in life that every time they talk to you, you tell them, my gosh, you really inspire me. You really encourage me. That's their strength. So pick certain things about you that you know are your strength, that no one can tell you. Even if someone tries to put you down, it's the one card that you'll always pull out and say, you know what? I'm a happy person. I'm not even going to let that get to me. Those things have a way of just grounding you, building you, and just keeping, you know the way you say, we live to see another day. It's those words that we tell ourselves.
Okay, yeah. And there's a point that you've noted that on the exercise, on the bigger box, I'm trying to get the perceptions of other people. How about the people that are always envious of you? They are not true to you on who you are. When you ask them your strengths or what you're good at, they just throw filth at you. And that's how you start perceiving yourself, because not everyone is always truthful. There are some people that are, they know obviously that you have superseded them with a certain skill, so they don't want you to feel good about themselves so that they can just lift their ego.
Yeah.
Yes, so how do we filter out some of the filthy things that other people tell us? They may even be our friends. Our friends sometimes are usually not fond of us because they feel like you succeeding is an obstruction to them. So they tend to put you down. And when they tell you things, since they are your friend, you accept it.
Yeah.
And that's what you feed into your subconscious mind. So how do you filter out that, especially from a friend, a person that you're so close with, so you believe everything they say?
I want to speak as a mother, because sometimes in anger or in frustration, even as a mother, there are certain things that you tell your children, and your children can actually see that as truth. So for me, I use that as an example, because that person who tries to put you down, that is what they have inside. You know, you can't give what you don't have. There's no way you can give someone positivity when you have internal struggles. And so even in the process of trying to have conversation and maybe say something, that internal struggle will come out in a certain way. And you find someone even telling you, hey, you know, you people who are like this, maybe this is how you are. You're not conscious that you're saying it in a bad way and it has a negative impact on someone. You're just projecting who you are. And I'll give you an example. If you're tribal or you're racist, the minute you see a person who is not, or is of that tribe, you have a comment about them. And it can be something even simple like, you people munapenda kufanya hivi na hivi. Tunajua nyinyi munakuanga hivi na hivi.
Or you look a certain way.
Yes. There are people, by the way, who take offense in that. It might look like a positive thing or some praise, but not all people conform to that kind of a thinking. So when your friend tries to put you down, it's not so much they struggle with you. They project what you have that they wish they had, that they don't. They're projecting a certain struggle internally. So when they're telling you that, they probably would have wanted to say it a better way. But because that is who they are, they can't see it any differently. Subconscious mind cannot, you can't be in pain and you see happiness in someone that is from you. Let me just repeat that again. If I'm struggling maybe about something, I never felt good about myself, I had maybe self-esteem issues, and then I see you and you're confident and what you're seeing is what I want. I want that confidence. I want to feel that way. But because this is the truth that I have, the truth that I know, I don't know anything different. But because it's something in my subconscious mind that I want, subconscious mind will constantly present it to me. Now it's up to me to actually see it and then act and say, you know what, I'm deserving. Not of what she has, but of that happiness. I'm deserving of happiness. I'm a good person. People have hurt me, but you know what? I'm a good person. I didn't hurt them back, so why am I carrying that pain? So you find that sometimes a lot of us will probably look at other people and think, that is what I want. I mean, it's okay for you to want happiness because you see it among people. It's okay for you to even want nice skin because maybe you struggle with skin issues. That is what you tell your subconscious mind. If only I had that, I'd feel a bit better about myself. I'd feel okay. It's okay for you to want to feel okay. The only thing is how you translate what it is you're seeing. Why does it upset you? Yet it's what you want. So I think even for you, if maybe a friend keeps throwing you, shade, and they're like, oh, it's like this. One day you need to just sit down with them and ask them, why do you do this? Where is it coming from? Why do I feel like you are upset about something? Is it something that I did? Those leading questions maybe make people comfortable enough to share what their struggle is. And I think it's really sad that we can be around people who are going through so much. They're our friends, but we never know. But we're quick to see that part of them that is nasty, yet we don't really take time to try and understand, why do you treat people this way?
Yeah, the root cause of their problem.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and have you ever faced that kind of an issue personally? A friend throwing shade at you because you are leveling up at a certain speed that they can't catch up, and how did you handle them?
It's not even have you ever gone through. I'm going through it. And you see, that is the thing. The minute you step out of a certain space, you get into another space where everything is different. The mechanisms of how things happen is different. The way people perceive things is different. The way people speak is different. But our minds have been programmed to always look for safety or comfort in the things that we know. And that's why you hear successful people saying, it's lonely at the top. It's not lonely. There's so much happening at the top. You just have to be aware of what is happening around you at any one time. Now, the one thing that I realized happened when I left employment is the first thing, I moved away from people that I was used to, people who I spent a good amount of time with, and now I've moved into a place where I'm not going to another place where there are many people who do things differently. I went back home into my own space. So I'm alone. So in that being alone, you start now focusing and envisioning and saying, this is what I seek to achieve. And by the way, your vision should never be to be the best. There's nothing like being the best dancer. You just want to be a dancer who creates impact, who impacts lives, who sends them. It's something, your vision is something that has to be so real that people can actually see it. But when you say best, we now start thinking, best, let's compare this dancer and this one. Nani ndio mkali. So kill that thing of being the best. Just be a master at what you do. You're a master. You master it so well that in the process of mastering, it just flows. Yeah. So for me, when I left, obviously the first thing, conversations between me and these people have changed. I'm out of employment, they're in employment. I'm trying to run my own thing. They're working with a certain way of working. So you find that there's always a shift. It's important for you to understand when you get into that shift. Otherwise, you'll be in that space, but your mindset is still back where you've come from. And so obviously, the minute you start to excel, please remember there are people who are watching you. The minute you step out and start doing something, there are people who are watching. And there are those ones who are watching and clapping. There are those ones who are watching and just trying to observe. And there are those ones who are watching and looking for the fault in everything that you're doing. Remember those ones who are seeing the fault. It's their internal truth. Yeah, their truth shows them to just see fault. Yeah. So, yes, I'm going through that, but that actually is not, it's not even something that I'm aware of it, but I don't focus on it. Because focusing on it doesn't let it go away. Focusing on it just magnifies it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think what people need to do is just be aware of the space that you're in. And I know one thing about you is you really listen to people who speak like you, think like you, because you need that constant feeding of your subconscious mind, of your spirit, because then you need to impact that to people. And the one thing that I really appreciate about you is, even when we were having the conversation before we got into this, is you're always trying to get more information, to be ahead of the pack, to be ahead of everyone, so that when people ask questions, you're like, you know what? I think that is something that we need to discuss. Or I may not know what that is, but I can assure you I'm going to go and get some information on it for you. And that is what I say. The strength of a leader will always determine the speed of the pack. Your strength and your ability or your reasoning to want to create a certain impact is the reason why you attract some of us to come onto the show and say what we know. You will pull the experts into your space because we don't have the platforms. You have the platform. Mm-hmm. It's up to you to come and find us. We know what we would do on the platform, but we don't know which platform do I need to be on. And I think the one thing that I really want to commend you is you create a platform that allows us to be so real, to be so authentic, to be in our element, that we're not feeling like I need to speak like someone, the ones I see on the big stages. Mm-hmm. These spaces is what we need, because we need to send information out to people who can relate to. It's okay for it to be this kind of space if we feel we're part of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thanks so much for even just letting me be in your space to speak to the people who are looking out for, answers, encouragement, information. You keep doing it. You keep doing you. Yeah. So irrespective of the shade that people are throwing, shade will be there. It can't be the focus. But you have to be aware that it is there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that comment, because you have given me higher hopes that I can continue doing what I'm doing, despite my age or despite what other people think of me. I'm still going to do it because that's what I'm built for. Yeah. Actually, that's my purpose. I've already discovered my purpose and I'll continue chasing it. And do you have anything else that you want to add to the audience and to the youth that you feel that you haven't released from your chest? Please educate us anything that you feel that you have left out, so that any high-achieving lady or a younger boy could just listen to and feel like they are enlightened to go and chase their dreams and also to search themselves.
Okay. I think I just want to say there's so much power in you, the power of you. Sit down and ask yourself, when you were growing up as a child, what are some of the things that you loved? Because many times when we get to a certain place in life, we lose the little boy in us. We lose the little girl in us. If you can reconnect with that little girl in you, that little girl will remind you the things about you that you loved. You loved wearing dresses. You loved makeup. You loved, talking to people. You loved listening to people's stories. Go back and try and reconnect with that little girl in you. And especially for women who are feeling, I'm not yet there. I don't fit in. I don't look like everybody else. As a little girl, there was something about you that was so uniquely you. Go back and find that little girl. For boys and even for men, society has caged and conformed and put you people in a certain way. And you hear things growing up like boys are not supposed to cry. You need to man up. And I mean, there are even conferences that are telling you to man up. Pull away from what society is creating for you that defines success. Go back and sit on your own and just try and find out, what is that thing that I enjoyed doing? Was it football? Was it art? Was it swimming? Did I like photography? Did I like taking walks? Did I like cycling? I mean, we all grew up cycling. It can be something simple like that that just stirs that in you. And in the process of even now getting your bike and cycling, you find that there are other parents who are thinking, can you help our children learn how to do this? So I think for me, my parting shot is look within yourself. That which you're looking for is hidden inside you. You just need to find it and bring it out and be so in touch with it, connect with it, and then speak to it. Your subconscious mind only gives you what it is. You tell it.
Thank you so much, Branice. And I'm also going to leave my audience with some juicy message that your perception in life is everything. That's where the basis is. That's where your foundation is. If you have a nasty perception on life, your life isn't going to be that quite easy, because your perception is going to lead to your attitude, what kind of attitude that you have. If you have a good perception in life, you're going to be bubbly, you're not going to be sad all the time. You're going to always see optimism and positivity and the unfamiliar possibility. So alter your perception so that you can have a good attitude, and in turn, your good attitudes will lead you to the right actions. And those actions are going to lead you to perfect results, because we are always spiritual beings, and we are the kind of thoughts that we feed ourselves are going to manifest into our material world. So that's it for today. I hope that you learned something. Remember, this is not a monologue show, it's a dialogue. So I'm expecting for you guys to discuss the areas that you feel touched. What's that one thing that you felt like, this is for me, this is it, I needed to hear this? Just tell me. Type on the inbox, visit my Instagram story and pages, and even LinkedIn. Let's just interact, because I'm here for your transformation and inspiration. So that's it for today. Bye.